Hey everybody, Genesis7 here. Hope you are all doing well and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be going over my thoughts and impressions of Octopath Traveller 2. But before we go any further, a huge shout out to Square Enix for providing the game code so I could get the footage and my thoughts and opinions together for today, the release of Octopath Traveller 2, so happy release day. Though that being said, this does not affect my thoughts and opinions whatsoever. These are my thoughts and opinions alone. So I always think it's important to kind of knock a few things out of the park when going through a thoughts and impressions video. First, we're going to talk about my history with the series, and then I'm going to tell you where I am in the game. So you get a bit of an impression, a bit of a backstory from me, so you know where I'm coming from. So if there's something I like that you don't like, you'll understand. Something that I don't like that you like, you'll understand. That's just the way it works. So Octopath Traveller, I owned the first game, got the game on release. I thought it looked stunning, I thought it looked beautiful, but in truth, I have not put more than a few hours into the first game. It just wasn't hitting at the right time. I don't know if I just didn't have the time to play it, or it just ended up in the backlog and it just hasn't came out since. Fast forward to last year and we got the HD 2D remake of Live Alive, and I was excited. I wanted to see where the kind of the backstory, the idea for Octopath Traveller came from. So I went into Live Alive. I put in so many hours into that game, completed it many times, collected all the items, did all the side bosses and everything else in between. And then at that point I was excited for Octopath Traveller. But instead of going back to the first game, I just left it in my backlog and I waited for the second one. I know I could have gone back and played the first one and then played the second one back to back, but I'm a little bit stubborn. I wanted what was new, and Octopath Traveller was soon approaching. So that's my kind of story in a nutshell with the Octopath Traveller series. So the second thing, where am I with the game? How many hours have I put in and how far am I? So I've put in around 60 hours. My clock says around 65, but that is just from AFKing, and that's also from just listening to the beautiful soundtrack that it has to offer. I'm about halfway through the story, like I'm progressing through everyone's chapters accordingly, whatever the recommended level is. I've been knocking them out the park like that. I'm one of those players that like to grind. I like to go off the beaten path. I like to try and complete the side quests if I meet the requirements. I like to go into dungeons that I don't necessarily need to go into at the level I am, but I do anyway. I die a lot. I get the game over screen a lot, but then I just kind of look at a strategy and overcome these dungeons, and there's a lot of them in this game. So yeah, that is about where I am with the game, so you know where all these thoughts and impressions are coming from. 60 hours into the game and I'm absolutely loving it. Fantastic. So the way I'm going to tackle this is we're going to talk about the visuals and the music first. We're going to go over to the gameplay, and we are going to be going over the story and characters last, because I feel like I may get a bit carried away talking about them without spoiling, of course. So visuals and music. The HD 2D style, wow. Octopath Traveller 1 was the one that debuted this style. We have seen it in Live Alive, we've seen it in Triangle Strategy, we've seen it in the upcoming Dragon Quest III, and of course we have it here in Octopath Traveller 2. Some of you may be thinking, how does this style get any better? Well, it just does. I'm playing this on the PlayStation 5, so it's very smooth. It's very beautiful looking, and I think the way it improves the most in this game is its way it handles its camera in cutscenes, in his battle, and as you're going into the little nooks and crannies, as dungeons and the overworld maps. It's fantastic. They've obviously mastered their craft with this style, and I think it will even get better as more games come out in this style. But Octopath Traveller 2 definitely knocks it out the park for the HD 2D style. There are a few frame drops here and there, but nothing that really taints the game whatsoever. And the water is absolutely beautiful. I believe that it has ray tracing on the PlayStation 5 version. I may be wrong, but that water certainly looks beautiful to me. Talking about beautiful, the soundtrack. Wow, wow, wow. I've listened to the first Octopath Traveller soundtrack. I loved the remake soundtrack of Live Alive. and Octopath Traveller 2. Holy moly, what a soundtrack. I don't even get sick of the battle theme, and there is a few battle themes as you go through the game into the harder sections or come across against special enemies. I just got into a town just before recording this video, and the day theme of that town was just, it was beautiful. This soundtrack is phenomenal. The fact that most tracks have a day and night theme as well really adds to it, and I'm thoroughly excited to listen to the soundtrack without all the kind of game sounds in the background and just put them headphones in and just sit back and relax. It is phenomenal. So let's move on to gameplay, and obviously we're going to split this up. Let's start off with exploration. Just a quick note, with me not playing too much of the first Octopath Traveller, there may be something that really amazes me and you guys may be like, well Jen, it was in the first Octopath Traveller, it's not that big of a deal. To me it's a big of a deal because I've not played the first one. Just let me know in the comment section below if there's something that was in the first game or something that was in the first game and it sounds like it's improved upon in this game. So exploration, let's kind of like look at this. We're walking around these maps, we're going into dungeons, there's hidden chests, as you would expect. There's also a ship that you unlock later in the game, so you have a bit of like an overworld world map section with more secrets, nuts and crannies to explore. It's just fantastic. In addition to that, each character has a day and night ability that you can use with any of the townsfolk around the towns that you visit. Now these can come in handy when it's tackling any of the story of the characters, get into a building that you can't quite get to, looking for rare items, looking for quest items. It's all about experimenting with these abilities, switching between day and night, trying to work out where these characters are in the day, where they are in the night, who comes in at the night, who comes away from the town in the day, and working out what's the best approach. Some of these skills are very similar in what they do, but it's if you want to spend money, if you want to risk your reputation, if you are the right level, if you are strong enough, if you just want to KO someone with a click of a button. There's so many ways to tackle the abilities. You really want to use everyone's at your disposal, because you may come across someone that's blocking a doorway and the doorway may have a rare item behind it and you think, well, I can take them on, but they're like really strong and you can't beat them. You switch over to another character and they may have the ability to just KO them without having to go through the battle, and there you go, you can go into the house and get your item. It's really robust in the way it works. The fact that they've introduced this day and night, which is changed at the click of the button, really helps out in the exploration, and really kind of is where most of my time's gone to, like going through and talking to all these town folk, learning what they have to say about the town, see if they have anything relating to a side quest that I may be doing, and then using those day and night abilities, those path actions, to really help out for the cause. And that's fantastic. So let's move over to combat. And combat, again, with all these characters, 8 characters at your disposal, you are having a lot of abilities. Now, some of you may have played the first Octopath Traveller, and these jobs are exactly the same as the first one, but they seem to be improved upon, especially from my point of view, with really getting deep into Octopath Traveller 2. I'm constantly learning all the abilities that I can, using them in a very strategic manner to make sure that I do the breaks, break the defense of the enemy, and then just go ham and get the victory, especially when it comes to grinding. Very satisfying when you can build up that BP and unleash on a weakness and get the battle done, just because of your kind of thinking of the battle and the way you want to approach it. It makes grinding very gratifying, very rewarding. It also makes it very challenging at the same time, but again, there's so much you can do, and with the addition of other jobs that may be hidden around the map, each character can have a secondary job, and that just opens the door up to so many more kind of combinations. I'm sure you're going to see a plethora of videos out there of the best kind of kits for the characters and the best team to go in with. It really is a system that you're going to be playing around with for a long time, and I think you're going to love it. I absolutely adore it. I'm discovering things as we speak, and I'm sure that that'll carry on, especially as I go towards the end of the game. and into the end game itself. There's a few new things that have been included as well, as we're talking about gameplay of the latent powers, which is kind of like limit breaks, I guess you could say. You also have EX skills that you can collect around the map by visiting certain shrines. Again, you got the secondary jobs that you can collect. You can collect the jobs that you already have with the other characters, and there's a few bonus jobs out there as well if you can find them. With these jobs, you can get clues to see where the legendary weapons are, and then on top of that, there are so many other things to kind of add to the combat and exploration. So gameplay as a whole is fantastic. I don't have any faults with it. The only faults I have with the gameplay are my own faults. Me not thinking hard enough when going into a battle, maybe not taking the right team or the right combination of characters and jobs and abilities and items and everything else in between is just fantastic, and I really just want to get back to it. So let's finish off with the story and the characters. Obviously, I'm not going to go into any spoilers. I'll just try and mention everything that may have been accessed through the demo or has been out there on trailers. Of course, you have your 8 characters, each carrying their own job and own story. And to be fair, there were some of these stories that started off and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but hitting the chapter 3s of some of these stories and they're really engaging. I'm a big fan of Oswald's story. The revenge story is really, really good, and it's starting to pick up and really get into it. I really like Temenos' story. This is like almost like a murder mystery, and it's getting pretty intense with the things that you are seeing. Particio is probably hands down my favorite character. His story arc and his kind of side stories he has as well are fantastically written, and the voice actor for Particio is awesome as well. Like, this is my favorite character hands down because of the way he is being handled. You'd think a merchant character would be very very predictable in the way the story is. It's like to do with the money. This is obviously has money involved, but it's very like heroic in the way it approaches its story for Particio. Obviously, I've not mentioned Agnia in detail, Throne, Hikari, who I actually started off with the game. I started off with him purely because he's a warrior, but he definitely has like a really good story arc the way it starts off. Ochet, the hunter, is also a nice, charming story with the way you kind of go across that. I really want to talk about it more, but I don't want to spoil you guys. It's something I feel like you really need to experience for yourself. But for those that are wondering if these stories are intertwined, there are actually seeds that are planted throughout each of the stories where you kind of see a character in one story and they're in the background of another story, or they may have a more of a leading role in one story and you'll see them in another story. So I do think that they're doing a better job of kind of like linking them. I don't know how it was in the first game, but I know that a lot of people who like where you're playing 8 separate characters that just end up getting together at the end of the game, and there you go. I think the way the Octopath Traveller 2 handles it, obviously we have these kind of crossed path stories, and these add to the characters, the way they interact with one another, and also they talk to each other in battle, they call each other by name, and I really do feel like it is these 8 characters, but they are slowly becoming a good unit as I go further and further in the game, understanding each other and really kind of adding to each other's characteristics. There's another thing that kind of adds to this, and that's called travel banter. It's a lot like what skits would be if you've played the Tales series. I do really wish these were voiced, because these are some great interactions that are very important and kind of add just characterization to each individual character and to each other as well. And I really feel that if these were voiced, that this would be the icing on the cake and you'd have like a perfect experience. You would feel that this party of characters were like on a mission to just save the world and accepted one another, brothers in arms, just warriors hand in hand going to beat the big bad. I just wish it had a little bit of more voice acting in that regards, but as it stands, the characters and the story is just top tier. I really do want to talk about it more, but I feel like that's just an experience you need for yourself. And I can't forget the massive cast of side characters that you'll meet across the way. They really add to the story, and I kind of wish that they would become like sub-party members or something you could do, because some of these characters are not forgettable in the slightest. slightest. You would wish you want to see them further along the lines. Will that happen for me with me being halfway through? I don't know, but I'm thoroughly excited at all the side characters that I visit, and that's just kudos to the writing and the voice acting. I'm playing in English, you have the option to play in Japanese as well, but story and gameplay is just where this game shines, and it shines so bright. Again, in a nutshell, if you wanted to kind of get a nutshell of my opinions of the game, it's a fantastic game. It may feel the same as Octopath Traveller. I've read reviews of the first Octopath Traveller to kind of get a vibe of where I am with this one, and it sounds like it's very similar, but it's improving upon everything that people had gripes with the first one, and I think that's what it is. It is the same game. It is Octopath Traveller, but better. And the things they probably will learn from this game and take to maybe a third one somewhere along the lines, I can see that third one just being fantastic. This just had that second game syndrome of just being the same but better, like Crash Bandicoot to Crash Bandicoot 2, Spyro to Spyro 2, Resident Evil to Resident Evil 2. All of those games that get that really solid sequel, this falls into the same category. They have learned from their mistakes and listened to the community on their thoughts and opinions of the first one and just improved upon it. And it is really, really, really good. If you are a JRPG fan and you've not played the first one, just like me, I think you should dive into this one. I think this is a must-have JRPG on your list. If you like that old kind of style with the pixel graphics, you get a good game here. You've got all the secret dungeons, you can grind, you can not grind, there's 2x battle speed. I think this is going to be a JRPG you're going to have a lot of fun with, and I think I'm going to leave it there because I want to just tell you more, but I want you to experience it for yourself. So if you've experienced the game for yourself, you've come back to the video, let me know in the comment section below how you feel. Do you agree with what I said? Let me know. If you're watching this just purely to see someone's perspective on the game so far, let me know if I've hyped you up. Let me know if my words have helped you and been the deciding factor on whether you play this game or not play this game. And while you're down there, hit the thumbs up button, support the channel, subscribe if you haven't already and you want to see more content come your way. And guys, I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the flip side.